Today we're going to talk about the S&P 500, what it is, why you hear it so often, and if it's a good investment. First off, I got to take some time to say thank you to everyone who's been following this channel. Thank you to all of you who have been following this channel, investing in yourselves, making better money moves. Because of you, this channel has hit 500 subscribers. And that's crazy. So I'm blown away by the support, guys. I'm happy that you're liking the content. I'm glad you're getting something out of it. So if you're new here, feel free to join the family. I post here every Thursday, and who knows, maybe we'll do a giveaway or something when we hit 1,000 subs. But because of all that, 500 is gonna be our theme for the day. First off, let's talk about the S&P 500, or as my wife calls it, the SPF 500, because we just keep getting burned. So if you're like me, when I was starting out in the investing world, I thought that the S&P 500 was just a nickname for the stock market, which to be honest, isn't that far off. To understand what the S&P 500 is though, you first have to understand what an index is. An index is just a virtual basket of certain stocks. Instead of investing in one stock, which is risky, when you invest in an index like the S&P 500, you're investing in that basket of stocks and you get a piece of all the companies in that basket. S&P stands for Standard and Poor, which coincidentally are the words used to describe people who don't pay attention to this index. Just kidding. Kinda. Standard and Poor is the company who created the index, and it basically consists of the top 500 companies in the stock market, which is why it's used as a benchmark for the overall health of the entire market. Generally, if the little startups in the index like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, Google, Visa, Berkshire Hathaway, and so on, if all of these companies aren't doing well, it's pretty safe to say the market as a whole isn't either. So now that we know what the S&P 500 is, let's talk about whether it's a good investment. Well, technically, you can't invest directly in the S&P 500 because it's basically just a list, not a fund. You can, however, invest in index funds like Vanguard's S&P 500 Index Fund, or VOO, that are directly tied to the S&P 500, so for all intents and purposes, it directly mirrors it. Now that you understand that, are these indexes like VOO a good investment? Since its inception in 1926, the S&P 500 has averaged 10.5% year over year. Still not convinced? Let's take a look at an example. Let's go back in time to the great year of 1980. In keeping with this week's theme of 500, let's say you made a one-time investment of $500 back in 1980 into an index fund that mirrored the S&P 500. With no other investment, that $500 today would have turned into about $12,500. That's a pretty great return, but no one's just gonna put in $500 and leave it. So let's say instead of a one-time investment, you invested that first $500 in 1980 and then invested $500 more every year after that until you hit the year 2020. In total, you would have invested $20,000 over those 40 years. But today, you'd have close to $150,000 in that fund. I'd say that's a pretty good investment. Now feels like a great time for a legal disclaimer.
Warning, past performance, while helpful, is no guarantee of future results. The stock market is unpredictable and unreliable, as is the man in this video. Advice taken from him, or any advice on the internet for that matter, should be taken with a grain of salt, followed with tequila and lime. Don't be an idiot.
The S&P 500 and the stock market in general is not for everyone. Historically, on average, the market has always gone up, but it's a wild ride. Investing should solely depend on how much you can stomach. I know guys who lost $500,000 this past March, but they didn't panic because they're in it for the long haul. If you can't handle extreme drops in the market, losing 50% of your net worth in a single day, or just make panicky decisions in general, consider a different route. It should go without saying that the stock market is risky, but with more risk comes more reward. So if you want to start investing in the stock market but aren't sure where to start, I'd suggest you start with an index fund that mirrors the S&P 500 like VOO or VTI. You won't see insane short-term gains, and it may still be a wild ride, but remember, you're in it for the long haul. Have fun out there, guys. I'll see you next week.